Good morning, my Walking with Jesus friends. Have you ever experienced or heard of someone who suddenly received an unexpected windfall financial blessing? I don't mean they won the lottery, but perhaps they were in someone's estate plan and they didn't know it, or someone just felt led to give them an outrageous gift. Today, join me again in Susa, the capital city of the Persian kingdom, about 474 BC, as Mordecai is about to experience a windfall. Yesterday, we witnessed a dramatic reversal of fate as Haman went from being the favorite official of King Xerxes to being identified as the perpetrator of an ethnic cleansing scheme which would have slaughtered all Jews, including Queen Esther. Haman was impaled on the execution device he had built for Mordecai, according to Esther chapter 7. The record continues with remarkable events which occurred almost immediately. That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the entire estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told the king how Mordecai was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed Mordecai over Haman's estate. Esther chapter 8, verse 1 and 2. Now, friends, in the throne room of a king, things can happen very quickly. No committee meetings, no public opinion polls, no media news conferences, just executive action. Do you see the remarkable, dramatic actions taken by the most powerful man in the world at that time, King Xerxes? The signet ring of a king authorized the person who wore it to speak and make proclamations on behalf of the king. With that ring, the official seal of the king was affixed to official documents. The person wearing this ring could take action on behalf of the king. In our day, it might be comparable to the role of prime minister or secretary of state. Do you also see the king not only executed Haman, but took Haman's entire estate away from his family and gave it to Esther, who gave it to Mordecai? Now, friends, don't think small here. The role to which King Xerxes had promoted Haman likely brought with it substantial financial benefit, not only in terms of cash and jewels, but also properties. This would have been no small windfall inheritance when Haman's estate was suddenly given to Esther, who gave it to Mordecai. But there's even more. Did you notice the little phrase, "And Mordecai came into the presence of the king"? You'll recall Mordecai normally sat in a place of honor at the king's gate, according to Esther chapter 2, verse 19, along with other city of Susa officials. But entry into the king's presence in the palace, his throne room, well, that's an entirely different thing. That prestigious place was reserved for and accessible by only a very few people. The way this is phrased, it appears Mordecai was made welcome any time in the king's presence, as Haman had been. In a matter of a few minutes, maybe a few hours at most, can you imagine the shake-up in the executive suite, the throne room of the palace of the Persian kingdom? Haman is humiliated, shamed, taken out, and executed. Mordecai is celebrated for having spared the life of the king, paraded around town, and later raised up to a position perhaps second only to the king. Mordecai is revealed to be the adoptive father of Queen Esther and given Haman's entire estate. Before the sun set on this day in Susa, could anything more have been done to erase the memory of Haman and elevate Mordecai and Esther to honored positions? Now let's pause here for a reflection. Perhaps you look into your future, especially your long-term future, and you find yourself getting anxious about your financial situation. And will you have enough to last your entire earthly lifetime? Do you remember Jesus' teachings about that recorded in Matthew chapter 6? Jesus challenges God's people to understand 4 powerful things in those verses, which we see here in practicality in Mordecai and Esther's situation. First, God knows us and our needs, present and future, much better than we do. Second, God has access to all resources in the world and can provide not only what is essential for survival, but if God so chooses, he can shower us with a windfall of resources. 3, God prioritizes the condition of our heart and calls us to not be worried about the future and learn to be content in God's provision for what he wants to accomplish in and through us. And fourth, God invites us to look at how he cares for the beautiful flowers of the fields, the birds of the air, and realize that God cares much more for his people than he does for flowers and birds. Therefore, Jesus summarized with these words: "Can anyone, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Your heavenly Father knows all your needs. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Matthew chapter 6. Mordecai and Esther had no idea how their situation would turn out, but they were determined to honor God at all times, in all ways, and trust God to protect and provide for them and accomplish his great glory through their story. Oh my, can you and I live with that level of trust, my friends? And here's a great worship song about trusting God as one of his beloved children. And tomorrow we'll come back to find out what great things God did next.